Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and today I wanted to talk about compendiums or battle passes and how I personally think it'll soon become the next kind of loot box. And what I mean by that is, obviously, like you guys know, loot boxes have become pretty rampant in gaming nowadays, especially in AAA title games, because not developers, but companies and businesses want to make the most money as possible, and they don't really care about being all slimy about it. So they're trying to make the most amount of money from people with gambling tendencies or addictions, or kids that tend to have those type of things, or just want to spend money and are just using their parents' credit card, and just stuff like that. So they're trying to make the most amount of money in slimy ways, being loot boxes, and it's become so rampant that we're even starting to see it in games where it doesn't really make sense for them to be. And as an example, Vermintide 2, I'll probably make a video about it at some point in this upcoming week. It came out. It's extremely fun, and there's a whole thing about finding loot. And now, instead of finding loot, you find a loot chest, you level up a loot box, and then each loot box has 3 different items. So you can't buy them for real money, so it's not like that. It's so rampant that even games that aren't trying to make money and profit off of them are still using it. Which is a little funny and a little backwards, because a lot of people don't like the loot box system. But loot boxes can be kind of fun sometimes. I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. I mean, I also have kind of some addiction and gambling tendencies. I wouldn't really say addictions, but I definitely have tendencies to kind of get attached to collecting things or gambling or stuff like that, so I'm definitely part of the target demographic for loot boxes. But personally, sometimes it's kind of fun to try to open stuff off, but most of the time it's frustrating, as in the Rainbow Six Siege event, where there's a really awesome skin for a couple people, but you can't earn them for free, and they're all in these loot packs, and it's just ridiculous. But either way, back to the compendium kind of thing. What a compendium is if you don't know, originally, I think one of the first places I saw it personally was in Dota 2. Every year they would have the big old compendium for the big, the huge TI esport thing, biggest tournament that every year breaks the record of the biggest prize pool. And 25% of the proceeds of all of the battle pass and the levels and everything would go towards just directly to the prize pool. That's how the prize pool got so massive every time. But also, what the compendium is it was normally you would buy just the compendium itself for around $10, and it had just a bunch of levels, so you could level up your compendium by doing challenges or just playing the game, stuff like that. And each level you would do, you would get a reward. And obviously there would be a lot of higher level rewards at the end, but most of the time you can only get maybe 30 to 50 levels just by playing and doing the challenges. In terms of myself and my playing habits, I'm sure a lot of people were no-lifing it and playing a lot and getting a bunch of levels, but you could also buy levels just for real money, and that would also 25% of all those purchases would go to the prize pool as well. And what the Dota compendium did is there were I think 1,000 levels. So if you wanted to get to the max, you had to spend a lot of money, pretty much, because there's no way you could even. It was impossible to get that much just by playing. And a lot of the rewards were cool. They were exclusive immortals or stuff like that, and there's just a lot of unique stuff you can do with the compendium. And recently we've seen Fortnite have compendiums, and what they're doing is that's kind of the way they're monetizing that game. The compendium itself cost around $10, the same, which is a decent price. And then obviously you could just level up the compendium by itself, or you could buy levels, and every single level in that compendium you'll get a skin or an emote or something along those lines. So you're constantly going. So the thing is, the reason why I think that compendiums and battle pass type systems are going to be the next big monetization way is because hopefully loot boxes kind of die out, whether it's because of government regulation and as much as I hate to say it, a lot of the times the video game industry solves or tries to solve most of its issues on its own, kind of self-regulating, but I feel like that's kind of failed us in terms of loot boxes and gambling. So hopefully if government intervention does happen, It's for the good, and it doesn't have any negative side effects. Unfortunately, that might be a little difficult. But either way, hopefully loot boxes kind of die out because of, say, government intervention, or just somehow, I don't know, developers do different things. But either way, I think we're going to still see a lot of loot box stuff here, but I think we're going to slowly see a decline of them, especially because of things like the Star Wars Battlefront 2, where there was so much backlash that they actually had to take all payment, like, purchases out of the game. I think it's either about to go back in, or it was back in a little recently. So they're still going to make a lot of money, and they still are making a lot of money, but they're not making as much as they wanted to. Whereas if they put, like, just a compendium system in, this is why I think the compendium system is so great. The compendium system is still manipulative in its own way, don't get me wrong, because you know, I have a friend, or had a friend, that played Dota, and every time there was a compendium, because Dota was the only game they played. I mean, there was not any, like, they always tried to play a different game, and just always go back to Dota. So every time there was a compendium, he would spend, like, hundreds of dollars on this compendium. Like, I don't know if it happened multiple times, but I think he hit, like, a certain really insanely high level on one of the compendiums, or multiple, where they physically sent him, like, a kind of mini statue, or like a figurine, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It was like a $200 like statue, or what they were selling for $200. They sent it to his house, like a physical statue, because he had spent so much, and I guess that's what that level was. So it can be very manipulative, because if they put certain things near the end, and you're like, oh dude, I want that skin so bad, but you have to say that's level 75 and you start at level 0 and you want that skin so bad, you can try grinding and playing the challenges, and then near the end of the compendium, because they're timed, normally like a 3-month period or something like that, however long seasons are, and you're not there, you're like, oh my god, I want it so bad, so you just kind of purchase levels to get that. As an example, with one of the Dota 2 compendiums, there was like a kind of or there was a special map. I think if you hit like level 100 or 200, there was like a special map that made all the trees look really awesome, and it just made the entire like kind of arena look awesome. And my compendium, I was like at, I don't know, maybe like level 60 or something, so I was missing out like on 140 levels. And I wanted it so bad. So I just dropped, $55 into the game to get it, because I knew it was a timed thing. There was no way other to get it. And, I mean, to be fair, I went to actually that TI in person in Seattle, and we all got, like, weapon drops except one of my friends. But I, like, got a bunch of weapon drops that were worth, like, I sold on the market for, like, $180. So spending $60 in the compendium was technically free because I had made that money. But either way, I did it, and they got $60 extra out of me because I knew I wanted that. But the thing is the reason why it's not as slimy as loot boxes is I knew what I was getting. I physically was like, or mentally I guess, was I want this map. I am willing to spend $65 on this map. And then I also got other stuff up, all the rewards from level, whatever 60 I was to 200 or whatever the exact levels were. So I got all those rewards. But the difference is I knew what I was buying. Although it was a little ridiculous for me to spend that much, I'll admit, I knew what I was buying. And so when I bought it and I got it, I was happy. I was fine. I had already made the decision that I wanted to buy that, and I was okay with that. And whereas in loot boxes, say that map was in a random ass loot box and it had 500 other items in, and it was a seasonal loot box, and I really, really, really wanted that map so badly, but I didn't have it. So I dropped $10, I still don't get it. I drop another $10, I still don't get it. I drop $50, I still don't get it. I drop $80, I still don't get it. Like stuff like that, because that happens. I mean, I've kind of, not to that exaggeration, but I've fallen into that habit. Like when one of the first seasonal events happened for Overwatch, like a Summer Games one, I needed this American McCree skin, so I spent about $70, and I regret it so badly. Especially because I kind of stopped playing Overwatch, but oh my god, did it suck my money, and that's how they do it. That's how they do it. So in compendiums where you can see what you're getting, it's still like manipulative enough where developers and companies will still make a buttload of money. I mean, the international, for Dota 2, if only 25% of the proceeds of all of it were going to the tournament, each tournament was around like $20 to $30 million of like the price pool, which means they made around like over $100 million per compendium and only had to give out like 25% of that. So that's ridiculous. There's money to be made if you do a compendium system right. And the thing is the reason we haven't really been seeing compendiums too much is, first of all, I've talked about it before, like in my Overwatch days. One of the oldest videos I've made was like things Blizzard could learn from Valve, and one of them was talking about the compendium. But of course, you got the loot boxes in Overwatch. It popularized the loot box. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I mean, obviously, they existed before. They were in, like, CSGO. A lot of Valve games had them because they had the whole Steam market, Steam economy, that type of thing. And a couple games here and there were trying to do it, but, you know, it was mainly just those. No one was really, it wasn't really rampant. Then you have Overwatch, which completely popularizes it. It blows up. They make so much money from the loot boxes. Then everyone starts doing loot boxes because they popularized it. And I think Dota was doing compendiums. It didn't really get done that much. But now Fortnite has blown up and they're making a buttload of money from the compendium. I really think that because of that as well, we're going to start actually seeing compendiums, which I personally am fine with compendiums. I mean, I'm sure developers and companies will find a way to make them slimy and terrible somehow. They'll probably find a way to screw it up. But even if they screwed up the most badly way they can, it'll still be better than loot boxes. Unless, like, each level gives you a loot box. And then they're just combining both, and it's like, oh god. I don't want to give them any ideas. But compendium systems just, you know what you're purchasing, and it can be a lot of fun, especially if you can level up the compendium yourself by doing challenges and stuff. Because if someone wants to just spend, you know, $10 on a compendium and try to see how far of a level they can get, you know, doing that. And like in Dota, when I had a group of friends, we all bought compendiums and stuff. We were constantly like seeing what level everyone was at and stuff like that. That's really cool and really fun, and it adds something to the game, especially if the compendium offers other things. Like the Dota compendiums, they had like pages to, like, you could guess on who was going to win the tournaments, and if you were right, you were awarded like a bunch of levels and stuff like that at the end. And so it was a really interactive experience, and I think doing stuff like that is definitely just extremely beneficial. But overall, that's kind of all I want to talk about, just compendiums and how I think they're not necessarily the best thing ever, but they're a lot better than loot boxes, and how hopefully and I definitely think we will start seeing compendiums a lot more, especially because of the popularity it has in Fortnite. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about. If you guys enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more content and news. I upload videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And like always, guys, have a great rest of the day, and see you guys next time.